Welcome to this week's SV Lynx video. Well, we're going to get a lot of hard work done over at the build site, and we're going to get to that first bulkhead.
Yeah, we have a lot of work planned for this week, so we want to get right to it and start doing that fairing and sanding and all that work. But we're going to get this pushed forward and pretty far along, we hope, this week. So let's get to the lot. It's fairing day, where we're going to put the first coat of fairing compound onto the starboard canoe. We're going to start that right now. Now, what's interesting is that in our estimates, I think I estimated 8 weeks for us to start building this canoe to get it all the way to the point where it was pretty much faired. And I hope to get it done in 7. Well, we're at 5 right now, and we're starting the fairing. So if we can get this fairing done in the next 2 weeks, we'll be right on time to my goal. And if we can get it done a little sooner than that, ahead of my goal. So this hole's coming along really nicely. Now our goal, well, I shouldn't say goal, our plan is a bit different on this hole than it was on the first one, because we're trying to learn from what we did on the first one. And so what we're going to do here is the first coat is going to be a horizontal coat to round off the facets, and that'll be almost identical to what we did on the first hole, because that worked out well to get the facets out. So we're going to do that first. That's where it changes after that, though, because we'll sand that lightly tomorrow just to get the big stuff off. We don't have to sand it to a fine sanding. And on Wednesday, we'll put the second vertical coat on, but this time we're going to go a little bit thicker than we did on the other hole, because what we're trying to do is cut down the number of sanding rounds that we have to do, yet not have so thick a coat that we have to sand so much down either. And then the other thing that we're doing differently is we're starting out with 40 grit sandpaper, where last time we used 80, and it just took so long to sand down. So we went with a coarser sandpaper, and then what we'll do is once we get it down to one of the second or third coat, or the last coat, after we get it nice, we'll go back over it with 80 grit and get it ready for painting that way. But that should speed things up with fewer rounds and a little bit faster sanding. So off we go. We're gonna start with that horizontal layer right now. Here's some first batch of fairing compound on. And first thing I'm gonna do is go vertically just to try to get the surface tension off, because as you scrape this stuff, you can see right here that it doesn't spread evenly onto the surface. And so I have to spread it multiple times to get it to sort of stick. It looks like I need a lot more there. All right, so I've broke the surface tension on this section, so now I'm going to go add more compound here. This part's particularly difficult because it's curving 2 different directions right here. Yeah. Definitely the most difficult spot on the whole boat. But for round 1, that's plenty good. So you can see the striping that we're getting here, which is what we're looking for. This is a particularly bad faceted spot right there, but you can see these stripes, and that's what we're trying to fill in on this horizontal one right now. And so it's going fine. All these places where I've left ridges like that, those are what we're going to sand down quickly. Stuff like this we're hardly going to sand at all before the next coat, just a little bit. Mostly just get rid of these leftover ridges on there. Should get a little easier as we move down the hull, because that's the worst area up there. Always start with the worst stuff. That seems like that's a theme around here. We started with the canoes and the forebeam, which are the three hardest things to work on the entire boat. Great when we don't know as much, we're working on the hardest things, but the fact is you have to work in that order. You really don't have a choice. Marching on down, as you can see, we're about halfway down the hull right here. So, got some more to go. Overall, it's coming out pretty well. Again, this is not a critical coat. This is just to get the biggest warbles out of here. And of course the faceting from the boards. So the next round is the one that's going to smooth it out quite a bit, but it'll be easier to apply that second round vertically when this hull's fairly round already, therefore, which is why we're doing this round like this. It's really just to help out the application of the main round, which is the second round. Like that. Again, don't have to be perfect. Just as long as we fill in the majority of these stripes on this first round, when we go vertically, it'll fill in anything we miss, slightly spots or something. But in general, this will now be rounded as we come down. Whew! Tired. Almost at the end here. 4 more feet. And we'll be there. So the question is, do we do half the hull and then go to lunch? Or go for the Iron Man? Go the whole thing in one shot? We're going the whole thing in one shot. So we're going to keep going. And now the last 4 feet. I'm going to go into here right now. I'll fix this last part up in the next round because we're still going to be tabbing right there tomorrow, so I'll fix that up in the next round. And on to the second half. We'll go the opposite direction this way. It don't really matter. First one took about, I'd say an hour and 20 minutes. It's 10:20 or 10:25 right now, so if this takes the same, we should be done right about noon. We'll call it lunch. Well, here we go. 50 feet to the finish line. Well, we won't make you watch all the way to the finish line. We'll skip to that. So I told you that we would skip the middle for you. I'd get to the end. So here we are at the end. It's 11:49. Our goal was to finish this up by noon, which gives me 10 minutes to finish this. It'll be all right. And that should be no problem. We just got the little bow area right here, and the epoxy's already mixed. So I just got to spread it out. All right, all it's done. Okay, good enough for the first round. We'll get to some sanding. We'll just knock all the highs off, all these little spots like this, and get it down to a one even layer. It can have some little gaps in it, it's okay, because then we're going to fill again the other direction, so it'll be fine. Well, it's a sanding day today, and what we're trying to do is just rough it up and take off these end of the trowel marks, high spots here that we have, like down here. But when it's somewhat smooth like this area, we're just going to lightly rough it up because we're putting a little bit thicker coat over the top, and it doesn't have to be perfectly smooth at this point because we're just going to put another layer over it anyway. So we're just going to scuff it up, take off all the high points, and then we can get to that other layer. Plan for today is we're going to put the second thicker coat of fairing compound onto at least one side, probably both. We'll see how that goes. But we're going to start with this side, and we're going to do one thick coat coming down vertically. So Brian's going to use the compressor to blow off all the dust, and then we'll wipe it all down with alcohol, and then we'll get to it. The first layer we did, we consider about a medium amount of fairing compound, and this round will be a heavy amount, and then after that they'll be very light. All right, let the workout begin. Sweet. So looks very smooth. And that's what we're looking for. Goal here, if we look down the side here, is to have that look perfectly round already. Even this is just the second layer, and we'll probably do at least 2 more. I'm hoping 4 or 5 is it this time. All right, we're on the last, a little more than a third. All right, at the very end here, of one side at least, we're going to, it's a nice coolish day today, about high of 74 degrees Fahrenheit, that in Celsius. And that means that we can do this one half in the morning, break for lunch, and do the other half. Because it's nice and cool enough, we can do that. I need a little more epoxy over here. It is epoxy, but it's also fairing compound. It's just epoxy with 3 different kinds of fillers in it. Okay, I don't want to mess with it. The surface there looks good. Say there's always going to be trowel marks between the layers, like here, but in between them it's nicely rounded. So if we look back there, you can see it's a nice shape in there. So we'll sand off those trowel marks and I can get this mask off finally. I had to wear this the whole time because I was helping mix, because I was too fast for the amount of epoxy, so I would trowel out what I had and go help him mix. So I had to wear this whole time. But we got it, and so we'll let this one set up till tomorrow, actually till Friday. And but this afternoon we're going to do the other side as well. So this whole massive layer will be done today. It's after lunch. This is already setting up a little bit, so that's good for tomorrow. And now it's time for the other side. Rinse and repeat. And now it's time to get this one epoxied as well. So first one took us about 3 hours, so I figure we'll be done around a little bit after 4 today on this. It's like battering a cake. It's a very, very, very large cake. 50 foot each side, oddly, or not oddly, annoyingly maybe. Okay. Do some scraping. Good. On to the next batch. So it's been about an hour so far, and we're about halfway on the boat, so that means we're doing really well. But here you can really see how much thicker this is going on than the previous layer, which really showed a lot more of the basalt. Now we'll be sanding down some of this. It'll get closer to the basalt again once we sand some of this down. But these bands you see here, as I've mentioned in the previous haul, these are the overlaps of basalt. So these are twice as thick where these are. So that's why the coating gets a little thinner right there, because that's a lot thicker. So those are high points on there, so they always show up. But we have to fill in between those, make this the same level all the way across. But again, Since we're laying down a little bit thicker layer than we did previously, that means some of this is going to get sanded back off again. Remember, we want the least amount of fairing compound on here as possible. The goal of the day is to get this major thick layer onto the boat, and we've done it all in one day. This little corner right here, one of the more difficult spots because it was so curved that to get this rounded back just takes a little extra work and a little more compound. But we'll get it round. Okay, got this few inches here to fix. Doesn't look like it, but it should be just enough. There's quite a bit on the trowel here. Alrighty, we can get this spread out. I like it. I don't think I want to do it anymore. Take a look down. Oh, that's nice and round. I want to touch that. So, we're done for today. Anyway, Friday, we're going to sand this down, and then we'll start looking for things we missed and such. Little fill spots and things, and that'll be round 3. Like I said, I'm hoping to get this done in round 4 or 5 finished, so half the number of rounds. So it's looking pretty nice, but we'll see after we sand it. See you Friday. We love sanding, which is why today we're going to sand the starboard hull. We've already done the thick layer of our second round of fairing, as you saw earlier. And now we're going to sand it and see where we're at. So Brian's already started at the back with the flexi sander. So it's looking pretty good back there. So I'm hoping that, again, this will cut down some of the rounds. You know, next we'll do a patching of all the small little stuff, and hopefully one more after that and we'll be done. So while Brian hits that end with the flexi sander, I'm going to start from the bow and go this direction with the good old torture board. We filled this with thickened epoxy. I got to sand it off smooth before we can round off the edge. So take a grinder to it right now. All right, well, that's just a general smooth. Now I got to get a form back on here to make sure that I've got it exactly level everywhere. So I'm going to go get the form. All right, so this is the form, but because it's not leveled with all the rest of the forms anymore, I'm having to go through a little bit of work here to get this in the right position. So the first thing I just crawled underneath and I marked where this used to be because you could see it on the inside. And that was before I put it on here. Now I put it on here with a couple clamps to hold it up. I'm going to go inside and tap this into exactly the place where I marked it. That'll give me the distance right. But we need it also to be the exact same angle as that one. And so once I get into position, I'm going to check the angle on that one, and then I'll come over here and make sure this is at exactly the same angle as that one before we go any further. Okay, so it's at the right angle now. So I have to quite a bit more to grind off here, from between an 1/8 inch and a 1/4 inch, depending on where it is, to get that in the right position. This is just a little too long still. We cut it too long on purpose because we wanted to be able to come back to it rather than have it too short, and then what can you do? So we verified that this is now exactly the right angle and the right distance out as the other hull. We used a template and marked it, and so this is identical to the other hull. So I just need to go get the router and put the curved edge on this thing, and we'll be good to go. Time to put these panels on. So first thing I'm going to do is just going to glue them on. Got myself a little thickened epoxy here. So I've got a pretty even coating there, but I'm going to put some on the inside as well. Make sure we've got plenty. All right. So now this piece go right here. Lots of squeeze out there. And then I'll put myself a clamp. There. Got some of that squeeze out because I want to make sure that this is matched up properly, which it is not. Let's double check the angle here. Perfect. Perfect. All right, so that one's good. So we'll step over here and do the other one. Same deal. I'm sure you hear all kinds of noises in the background. Most of that's Brian sanding. Now it's time to tab this in. So we're going to use some basalt to match up with the rest of the exterior layer on the hull here. And we'll put one layer along the edge of the new bulkhead number 11, and then we'll go with a larger piece to go over the whole thing.
You tried to before.
Now we've cut some slices along the sharp portion of the curve so that this will lay down. At the top there, where I'm going to line it up in just a moment, that isn't curved so much that it won't just lay over nicely, but being 650 gram cloth, it doesn't bend that well here, so we had to make these slices to make this tighter curve go. But that worked out just fine, although I had to cut this one just a little bit deeper to make that fold properly. And now we can get the last one in. Now we're just going to have to wet this out, and it's all set. Try going with a spatula here to spread this out to save some of the epoxy rather than have it soak up into a roller. But what I found after doing this first one here was that it really didn't save us much epoxy, because it tends to run a lot and we lose some. So in the end, I think that I like rolling it on with a roller better. And yeah, there's a little left in the roller, but we can squeeze that out towards the end by putting a little pressure on the roller. So like I say, for this one, we went ahead with the spreader, but you'll see that in the future here, we're going to use the little roller.
All right, so that's the first layer, but we're going to put a second. This is a 650. We're going to put a 450 gram that also wraps, but all the way down. And later, we'll be tabbing over that and around the sides of this as well. So all of these will get double thickness on parts. But for now, we need to get this on here because we need the double thickness now. We can't do it later because we need to fair this. And so we can fair the end of this anytime, but we want to fair the top part here now. So we've got to get that done. So we're mixing up some more epoxy right now. We'll re-wet this out. It's only been about 10 minutes since we laid this on, so it's got plenty of wet on wet time still. Let's put this one on here. Just hold it down, yeah, tap it down, let's see where this goes to. Perfect. Okay, now let loose. I gotta insert it behind the stupid piece here. There we go. Let's see how that's coming out down below. Ooh, that's really nice. It's really nice. It's perfect. All right, all you out in the YouTube land, we have finished the second coat on here, and we're gonna leave that one and go to the other one now. We already showed you the other one, so we didn't want to bore you doing the second one again, but all done. So we got our 2 layers on, our gap here for our rudder, which will eventually cut the hole on out there. But for now, this will work, and then we'll start fairing over the end of this and the other one too. So all good. We've checked all the angles. They're all perfect. So we're going to walk away and don't touch it.
So as you can see, we got a lot of work done fairing the starboard hull.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, but I got a good workout, so it's all good. But what we were excited about is getting that tiny little bulkhead number 11 on to finish those sterns, because they've been really ugly up until now. So now they're on, and it's the first bulkhead, and it's one of course, 11. So 10 more to go, and not including temporary bulkheads. And we're hoping to get to those in a few weeks here. because we're going to push hard to get these 2 hulls completely faired and painted and bottom paint on them, flip them over, rotate them around, finish off the inside, and then we can put all those bulkheads in. So that's what we're planning for sort of the next 6 weeks to get all that done. And it's a start. So next week, unfortunately, we're going to get a little rain. So that's to be expected in the winter. So this isn't a big problem. We did anticipate that there will be days in the winter that it's rainy. So next week's video will have some work on the boat and some other subjects as well. So we'd like to thank all of you for watching, of course, and all of our patrons who donate to helping this boat get finished. We appreciate everybody.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and click on the bell icon to be notified of our next video.
Yeah, which will be a rainy week next week. We'll see you then. All right, bye.
Bye.